You can't explain it, but you feel it. The disconnection. The subtle sense that life has turned two-dimensional. You walk through your day like you always have, doing what's expected, saying what's acceptable, performing the roles you've learned to play, but none of it feels inhabited. It's like you're living on delay. Present in body, absent in being. The words still leave your mouth. The smile still flashes. But behind it all, a growing emptiness. And no matter how much you sleep, scroll, journal, or meditate, nothing quite lands. Nothing quite restores you. At first, you think it's burnout, then maybe depression, but no diagnosis fits. You're functioning. You're doing everything you're supposed to do. And yet, something feels eerily unreal. The light in your room feels a little too artificial. The voices around you feel like background dialogue. You catch yourself wondering if you're in a dream, or worse, a loop. And even though you keep showing up to your life, a quiet part of you keeps whispering, "What is this? And why doesn't it feel like it used to?" You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not lazy or lost. You're waking up. Not in some grand spiritual cliché, not in the manifest your dream life kind of way, but in the terrifying, beautiful, dissolving sense of awakening, where the version of reality you've always lived inside suddenly stops making sense, and you don't know why. All you know is nothing feels real anymore, and maybe that's not a glitch. Maybe it's the first sign that you are finally starting to see what is underneath the illusion. You've been taught to trust what you see, to believe your thoughts, to treat your perception as reality. But what no one told you, and what modern neuroscience confirms, is this. Your brain doesn't show you the world as it is. It shows you the world as you expect it to be. That's how the system stays stable. That's how it keeps you safe. Every second, your brain runs predictive software, stitching together fragments of memory, emotion, and belief to generate what you experience as reality. Not because it's accurate, but because it's efficient. This is called predictive processing, and it means what you think is real is actually a projection, a best guess, a shortcut. You don't perceive reality directly. You perceive what your nervous system thinks reality should look like based on the data you've already absorbed. This is why déjà vu exists, why trauma shapes our sense of time, why people in the same room can experience entirely different truths, because your brain filters out what doesn't match your inner model of the world. And what happens when that inner model starts to collapse? You lose grip. The predictions don't land. You look at your life, your job, your relationships, your routines, and they suddenly feel unfamiliar, artificial, like props in a movie you forgot you were cast in. Because your mind, once so sure of what reality was, is no longer confident in its script. And without a clear script, the simulation begins to flicker. This isn't psychosis. This isn't dysfunction. This is deprogramming. The moment your internal operating system starts to fail, in service of something truer wanting to emerge, you aren't malfunctioning, you're evolving, and evolution doesn't always feel graceful. Sometimes it feels like forgetting who you are, just long enough to remember who you were before the forgetting began. We love to imagine the simulation as some external machine, a grand digital reality projected by alien architects or hyper-advanced civilizations. But the real simulation isn't on a server in the sky. It's much closer than that. The simulation is internal. It lives in your conditioning, in your identity, in your perceptual filters. You don't need a futuristic headset to be immersed in an illusion. You were born into one. From the moment you arrived, you were taught how to see, how to label, how to suppress what didn't fit the narrative. You were trained to value logic over feeling, performance over presence, productivity over stillness. Your name was given to you, your gender, prescribed, your language, inherited, your sense of right and wrong, installed. Slowly, layer by layer, the original you was overwritten by a socially accepted self, one that could function but not feel. That's the real simulation, the performance of a life that isn't truly yours. And now? The code is breaking. You find yourself staring at the wall and realizing you've been moving on autopilot. You question conversations that used to feel automatic. You feel like you're watching yourself, playing a role, nodding in rhythm, speaking from muscle memory instead of presence. It's disorienting, sometimes even terrifying. But it's not a breakdown. It's your soul withdrawing its consent from the false self you've outgrown. Reality isn't falling apart. Your beliefs about it are. The programs are crashing. The mask is slipping. The inner scaffolding, built from survival, culture, and inherited expectations, is dissolving, and what's left in the silence is unfamiliar, but honest. You had a script, whether you realized it or not, a set of internal instructions you followed without question. Wake up, go to work, meet expectations, chase goals, smile when it hurts, repeat. It gave you a sense of control, a rhythm, a purpose. It told you who you were, where you were going, and what it meant to be okay. But at some point, maybe recently, maybe years ago, that script stopped working, and you didn't know what to do without it. Because the default path doesn't require awareness. It rewards repetition. The more consistent your character, the more stable the illusion. But the moment you begin to question the role, the moment you ask, "Why do I do this?" or "Who am I without it?" something unravels. Your once familiar world starts to feel hollow. The goals lose meaning. The social games exhaust you. And the version of yourself you so carefully performed begins to feel like a costume you can wait to shed. It's not that you don't care. It's that your soul has stopped pretending. And the body feels it first. You feel tired all the time, not because you're weak, but because you're drained from acting. You feel numb in conversations because you can no longer fake resonance. You crave stillness, silence, solitude, not because you're avoiding life, but because your nervous system is begging for something real. This is what it looks like when the performance ends. Not with fanfare, but with fatigue. And when the script ends, there are no immediate answers. There's only space, too much space. And inside that space, your mind panics. Because if you're not who you were, and you don't yet know who you're becoming, then what are you? Where are you? What's next? This is the void. Not a punishment, but a pause. A necessary one. Because no truth can emerge where performance still lives. And no clarity can rise from a self that's still rehearsing a life it doesn't want to live. So if nothing feels real anymore, good. That means the lie is losing power. That means the performance is no longer convincing. That means your real self, buried beneath all that noise, is finally stirring. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just waking up to a world that was always artificial. And now, you're finally ready to remember who you were before reality taught you how to forget.